Greetings, everyone. This is the Lady Apostle, and I'm coming to you once again by way of the Single by Default movement. This week, I am going to launch a very important talk line, and I just wanted to prepare you in advance to the sensitive nature of this subject. Anytime God impresses upon me to do something that's very important relationally for the community, it seems like I get all of this anxiety. And then I get this witness out of nowhere that this is what needs to be done. So on this week, this ministry will be releasing something, and I wanted to share with you all early on and just prepare my listening audience, because I don't want to seem biased in any way. I just want to be able to do what this movement is called to do, and that's bring awareness so that we can release a level of hope and a level of wholeness so that people can actually be restored back to their original state and be able to have the type of relationships that God desires. This Friday night, I will be discussing authority and spousal abuse and how it affects the lives of those who have been victims and predisposed to abusive environments. On the day that I was releasing this information, I received more information that was a bit alarming. So I postponed the call to do further research. And what I found was right now there's a study that has just come out, and it states that an alarming number of women think that spousal abuse is okay sometimes, that it's sometimes okay. Domestic violence is never okay. Yet in 29 countries around the world, 1/3 or more of men say it can be acceptable for a husband to beat his wife. Now, I don't want to be biased. However, we do know that more women come forward than men in the instances of spousal abuse. So for the sake of making sure that the listeners understand that this is just not a female issue, it's only the fact that women come forth more. They come forth more, and a lot of times men will live in silence and shame because of this issue. So what I found is that, you know, we're in ministry and we understand that we love God, yet this issue affects us even in ministry. It affects leaders even in ministry. It's a shame that a lot of our leaders are predisposed, are victims or perpetrators of abusive relationships. And, you know, it brings up on a form of control. It brings upon a form of manipulation. And all of these things exist in the church through by way of abuse and abusive patterns in relationship. It affects ministry. It spills over into ministry, especially for those who are victims as well as perpetrators of abuse. So what happens when there is an abuser in leadership, or may in fact that abuser may be your pastor? How does abuse affect past victims, those that have been victims of abuse in ministry? How does it affect victims that are in ministry now? How do they pick their leadership? How do they choose their leadership? Does it have an effect on how we choose leadership? If we've in fact been abused, does it affect us with choosing more manipulative leaders, more controlling leaders? You know, instead of having the freedom to share Christ, do we choose our leaders according to how we have been groomed in abusive relationships? That's a question that I want to ask, because I noticed that, and even through my study in school and you know, with what I do, we kind of look at patterns and kind of look at consistent ways of types of environments that we as individuals stay in because of the fact of how we've been raised or how we've been groomed or what we've been predisposed to. So I want to address that. I also want to address, how do we as people of faith respond when we are faced with those who have been abused by their husbands? And, you know, and what if their husbands are in fact our leaders? How do we respond to that? How do we recover from that? How do we even help those who are going through this, and even perpetrators? How do we help them get from where they are now to where God would have them to be, so that their relationships can be healthy? And my last question on this week is going to be, does ministry provide a support system, a good support system? Do we have a good enough support system in the way of ministry for people who are abused, for abusers? And what do we do? What do we do? How do we tell our husbands and wives how they should respond to being in abusive relationships? I heard something on last week and I was like, whoa, because, you know, marriage is honorable, and it is something that we should do till death do us part. So, you know, some would say you stay, because this is what God says. You stay in this relationship. You stay with your husband. You do not divorce your husband or wife. Let's put it that way. You stay until death do you part, because this is a vow that you've made unto the Lord. So do you stay at the hands of being subjected to death? Is something that you do even through separation? Because we know that even people who have separated from spouses, you know, in a way that they feel like they can separate or put trespassing warrants against these type of people, are still then found dead later on. So is this the fate? Is this the fate? Is this our destiny? If we marry into abuse, are we destined to that lifestyle? Are we doomed to that because we've married and we're not supposed to divorce? These are the questions that I want to ask, because these are some of the responses that I'm getting. Yes, you do. You stay. You stay. So, you know, I don't want to be biased. I have my opinion. But I don't want to be biased in the fact of understanding that we're dealing with people who have religious beliefs, and, you know, also take the word, and they rightly divide it according to what they believe. So I give respect to that. But my thing is about bringing health, bringing healing, bringing restoration, making sure that those of us that have been affected by things relationally can some kind of way see our way out of what has tried to affect us, out of what which has tried to destroy us, out of what which has tried to cause us pain, beyond, you know, being whole again, you know. So this week, I just wanted to put this out here. I will be coming to you again in the next couple of days, talking about a little bit more. I'm going to be dialoguing with some wonderful leaders, some wonderful women who have found themselves going through abuse with their marriages, their husbands. Some of them, you know, had husbands in leadership and they were abusive. One of my talk guests are going to be discussing how she was raped repeatedly by her leader and was held and bound by fear and manipulation. And this will be her first time really talking about this in this type of sector. I'm addressing this to you all in the Facebook community. I want you to be in prayer for this call. This is going to be a very sensitive call. It's going to be a call that I pray that will reach those that have been affected and predisposed to abuse. I want to provide this talk line on this week to make sure that we do not leave that line until people are healed, until people feel like they're safe. I want to be able to provide resources for those that might be going through this right now. I want to be able to provide answers. Those of you that are interested in being a part of this call, if you have any questions, any concerns, you feel like you're in a place where you can't come out right now, you can't come forward right now because you are being abused. Inbox me. Get in my inbox. Get in the Lady Apostle's inbox. My inboxes are private. They belong to me. Get in the Single by Default movement inbox. Inbox me. Tell me what you need. Discuss with me some of the things that you may want to discuss. Some of the things that you may want to be brought out on this call. And I will do my best. I will do my best as a catalyst for change and a catalyst for relationship to try to bring this stuff out and try to get us to a place of healing, to try to get us to a place of deliverance, and to get us to a place of healthy relationship. I thank you for your time today. On Friday night, join me for this specific Talk Line subject. That Talk Line is going to be area code 712-432-3100. 712-432-3100. That code that you will put in will be 854-740. 854-740. And we will be on this Talk Line on Friday night at 8 o'clock sharp. I hope to see or hear you all there. And again, if you have any type of questions, if you have any type of concerns, if you're going through something right now, inbox me. Let me know what it is you desire, and we'll make sure that we as a team, through the Single by Default movement, try to provide you with whatever you need. Thank you so much again for your time. This is the Lady Apostle. Let everything you do be God-driven. Everything you get be God-given. I'm signing out. Bye-bye.